Hey crafties, Laura here, and I'm hanging out my craft closet with you today to show how to make this pop-up pansy card. This card style can be made with almost any paper and stamps, so I do hope you try it out. Today I'm going to be using the Pansy Patch stamps from Stampin' Up! And the matching pansy dies, as well as Pansy Petals designer paper, just a few sheets of that. For the card base here, I did use soft sea foam, but I think in the video we're going to be using Calypso Coral cardstock. We're also going to be using our trimmer score. We're going to be using window sheets. Just cut little strips into 1/2-inch strips. And little secret, these are just some scraps from another project that I'd used, but a 1/2-inch wide will do. I'm going to be using 3 of them. And then, of course, our tear tape and adhesive. So let's start by cutting our cardstock. Okay, I'm going to start with the card base. Let me move stuff out of the way so that we can work here. Of course, our trimmer. From your card base, this is an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. We're going to be cutting, it's a little different than normal, 5.5 by 11. So we're at 5.5 by 11. And we're going to be cutting that into 2 pieces that are 4 7/8. So you're going to turn it, and 4 7/8. And a second one. So you're left with 2 pieces that are 4 7/8. Gotta make sure my lines are right. 4 7/8 by 5.5. All right. And now we're gonna score them on the short side at 4 1/4, because that's where your card's gonna fold. Make sure you have your scoring blade. 4 1/4. And 4 1/4. You can go ahead and fold these. Okay. Next, we're going to cut our cardstock, or I'm sorry, our designer paper for the inside. So I chose again the same Pretty Petals DSP. I really like it. So it's going to be for the inside. You're going to need 2 pieces of 5 1/4 by 4 1/8. So I'm going to do 5 1/4 first, 5 1/4 wide. And then it's going to be 4 1/8 tall. And if it's directional like this one, there's obviously an upside and a downside. You know, flowers grow up. Make sure you're, just be cognizant of where you're cutting. Make sure it's cut in the right way. All right, so now we have 2 pieces of designer series paper, 4 1/8 by 5 1/4. I'm going to move the trimmer out of the way. And why don't we go ahead and glue these down? So we're going to use our adhesive, stick our designer series paper onto the insides, and we're going to butt it right up against our score line. Okay. Easy peasy. Same with the other one. There we go. And if you're like me, I did cut out a little piece of white just to put on the bottom, because I like to write little sentiments. And sometimes over designer series paper, you can't see what you're writing. So a little piece of white cardstock will do. All right, so next, let's make the pop-up. So for this, we're going to use tear tape. Now this is a special adhesive you can get from Stampin' Up. I love it for 3D projects. I love it for fun fold cards like this that need just a little extra stick to it. So it's just a roll of very sticky tape. I'm just going to cut a little piece. This is probably about 5 1/4 inches because I wanted to go most of the way across. I'm going to put it on the inside of both of my flaps, because eventually they're going to stick together. So again, I'm going to do the same with the outside, but don't peel off the sticky side. All right, so we have those ready and waiting for us. Why don't we get our flowers together? So we have our 3 pieces of window sheets. And to save time, I already cut out my flowers that I wanted to use in my pop-up. So here we have things that we can use with the die cuts. These pansies were cut out of designer series paper in this pack. Everything matches. I love it because of that. Who doesn't love a good match? All right, figure out where you want your flowers. On my original one, I put the big old purple die cut one in the center. But you can put them wherever your heart feels is right. These flowers are just blooming. So the stems are going to be applied directly to your window sheets. I like to use glue dots for this, but I know a lot of people have a hatred of these. But I prefer it for window sheets. They just seem to stick better, and then the glue doesn't squirt out or your adhesive doesn't show out. So I just put it at the top. We're not going to need it for the stem because it's actually going to be sticking between your two layers. So I'm just going to stick this to my window sheet. Nothing fancy. Leave a little room at the top. I'm going to do it to all three. You can put the flowers at different levels as well. You know, just like in a garden, some flowers grow a little faster than others. Some grow a little slower, so they're taller and reach towards the light a little faster. All right. So we got our stems applied to our window sheets. I'm going to take my flowers and I'm going to put them also on the window sheets. If you want, we can just use plain old adhesive, but if you still prefer using your glue dots, that's fine too. Because remember, you don't want too much adhesive sticking out. You just want it on your window sheet because you don't want it sticking to your card. So we're going to stick the pansies right over that. And this one I'm going to put little flower poking out from under it, just the way pansies grow. They just kind of go wherever they want. Yeah. And last but not least, we have this big yellow one. Plop this one right over. Cool. So we have our 3 flower, we'll call them pods, attached to our window sheets. Very cool. So we're going to take our card, we're going to peel off one of our tear tapes. I like to put my center one in first, just so I can kind of eyeball where the next flowers are going, and so that it doesn't poke out the side of the card when you do fold it. So I'm just going to stick it. Make sure it folds down. And this tear tape is very adhesive. I like it. Now we're just going to shove this other flower behind it. If you want a little taller, I would just recommend trying to keep your stem below your cardstock line. This guy can go on the other side. Do it at an angle if you want. Great. So that's your 1/2 of the card. So they're all gathered and popping up. So now we're going to tear off our tear tape over here, and we're going to press them together. Just trying to keep them even on all sides, but the flowers are stuck in the center. So then hopefully when you fold your card down, there we go, they'll pop up. Love that. If you happen to have any of your window sheets sticking out, go ahead and cut it. You don't want window sheet sticking out, just don't cut your cardstock. All right, last but not least, why don't we decorate the front of our card? So to save time, I just cut out a 4 by 5 1/4 piece of designer series paper from the same pack. I didn't use the same one, I want to change it up. But since the feature of this card is the pop-up on the inside, and there it is popping up for you, I wanted to keep the front very simple. So just a single layer of designer series paper. And let's see, I had cut out a few more flowers and a little bit more of the designer paper. And why don't we make this a thank you card? Since my last one's a birthday card? Last one's a birthday card. You always need 100 of those, but I also need a lot of thank you cards. So just taking a little evening evergreen, yet another color that matches this beautiful cardstock. There we go. Thank you. And I'm going to stick my flowers down. Easy peasy. Little pink flower here. And put a happy little pansy up here. There you go, that's your card front. So now we have this beautiful pop-up card with pansies just blooming. So thank you for joining me today in my craft closet. Like and subscribe for more paper crafting fun. Happy crafting!